Good morning, students. Today we will start with the third chapter of history, that is, from gathering to growing food. We know that we have a variety of food nowadays. Most of our food, such as fruit, vegetables, grain, milk, and meat, it comes from plants as well as from animals. These plants and animals are reared in different conditions. For example, a place where there is plenty of water that can be used for cultivating rice, whereas where there is less water availability, wheat as well as barley is cultivated. This shows us that why farmers grow some crops in some areas and not in other areas. Compared to cow, goat can survive in a hilly area. You might have seen in the villages and all hill areas easily a goat climbs, whereas a cow won't be able to survive there. In the previous chapter we learned that early men did not produce his food. Instead, he used to move from one place to other in search of food. Whatever was available, he used to gather those things. But when the climate changed, there were plants and animals that people used to take as food. Slowly, men and women they started to observe that the places where edible plants are available, it is not everywhere. In some places, edible plants are available. They had seen that how the seeds broke off the stalks and fell on the ground. They also observed that how the plants sprouted. They started to observe the things. They started to protect those plants from the animals. They started to collect the seeds. Slowly and gradually, they became farmers. It was not 1 or 2 days or years transformation. It took so many, but it was not a sudden change. It took years for the change. They also started to attract the animals, the wild animals like goat or sheep or as well as dog. They used to attract them by giving or offering some food to them. They started to tame the animals. The first animal to be tamed, that was the wild ancestor of the dog. There is a reason behind it that why they chosen the dog as a first animal. One thing is that dog assisted them in hunting. Also, dog was very, now also we know that dog is very loyal animal as well as he is very intelligent. Slowly they started. They also dogs they helped them to keep other animals. In taking care of other animals, dogs help them. This way, slowly they started the domestication, the process in which people grow plants and took care of the animals. That is a domestication. The plants as well as animals that people started to grow that were different from the wild or the jungly animals or plants. That means they were knowing how to choose the good ones. People select the plants and animals for domestication. They select those plants or animals which were good or which were not having any disease. They also selected plants which give them grains. This domestication of animal, that was a gradual process. Their domestication itself, domestication of early people, that was a very gradual. It did not took place in few years or few months. In many parts of the world, it was a gradual process. It began around 12,000 years ago. I hope you have noticed that when you plant a seed, it takes some time to grow. All of a sudden, sprout will not come out. This may be for some days or weeks, months, and in some cases, it takes years. When people began growing plants, they have to stay in the same place. If we have to take care of the plant, if we have to take care of the animals, we have to be in the same place. We cannot keep on moving from one place to other, because need to give water to the plants, also need to remove the weeds, also need to chase the animals and birds from them. Also, when the grains are ripened, need to collect their grains, need to store it in a proper way. They used to use different ways of using the grains. As seeds, they used to use the grains. As food, they used to use them, as well as they used to give it as gift to their dear and near ones. For later use, they also used to store it. For storing, they used to use clay pots, and also for storing, they used to make special houses with box type houses they used to make for storing the grains. Storing animals. Animals, we know that they multiply, as well as they are looked after very carefully, so they provide milk, which is important source of food, as well as their meat is used as food. That means animals that are reared can be used as a store of food, means as and when required they could use it as a food. Other than food, animals are also used for collecting their skin or collecting the hair, nails or bones. For all these, animals were used. First, farmers and herders. In your previous chapter, you had learned that the places where archaeologists have found evidence of early farmers and herders. Some of the most important ones are in the northwest in present-day Kashmir and in east and south India. Let us see which are these places and what were the findings. This is the area where now this is the area now in the present Pakistan. Wheat, barley, sheep, goat, all these were found as evidence. Wheat, barley, bones of sheep or goat were found. And this site is one of the known site for the evidence. Meghargaya, this is known as a Meghargaya. This is one of the known site of evidence. Another site is in present Uttar Pradesh, Koldiva, Mahagaya. This is in Uttar Pradesh. From this site, evidence like rice was grown, cattle, or the bones of cattle, all this were found. Marks on the clay surface was found. In present day Kashmir, Bursa, this is in present Kashmir. This is also a site where the wheat and lentil or dog, cattle, sheep, goat, buffalo, this or remains of these were found by the archaeologists, means evidence was found. In present days Bihar, Chirant is a area where the evidence of wheat, green gram, barley are found. Likewise, in Andhra, Hallur in Andhra, Hallur in Andhra, this is a place where millet, cattle, sheep, goat, pig, Palempalli in Andhra, that is also Hallur, Palempalli in Andhra. These are also places where the archaeologists could find evidences. Evidence of grains and bones or the animals have been found. Palempalli of Andhra as well as Hallur of Andhra. Then there is in Bihar, Chirant in Bihar, Bursam in Kashmir, Meharga in Pakistan. These are the places mainly where the evidence of domestication was found. Slowly and gradually, the early man started to settle life. archaeologists could find evidence of huts or stone houses. Burzam in present Kashmir, peat houses was seen. Means under the ground they used to make house. Steps were there to lead to the inside the house. And they could also find vessels which were used for cooking. There was also cooking places inside as well as outside the houses. That means according to the season they used to cook either indoor or outdoor. Stone tools also were found from many sites. Many of these were different from Paleolithic age. These are of a Neolithic age stone tools which were more sharp. Edges were fine. They were used for grinding the grain and cutting other plant products. We could also find the vessels which are used for collecting the grains. This all did not happen all of a sudden. Then also they used to hunt the animals as well as they used to cultivate. Both they used to continue. They used to hunt and gather the food, and they also used to do farming. Over several thousands of years, probably it took so many thousands years. They continued like that. Then they started to stay together as a group or as a tribe. Though there is no archaeological evidence, scholars studied that they lived like present day farmers who practice simple agriculture. Like that, they also stayed together like big families or a big group which are known as tribes. When they lived as tribes, the members of tribe followed the occupations such as hunting or gathering as well as farming and fishing. All those belongs to that particular group used to follow the same. And what makes the tribes different from the other communities, that whatever is available in the forest, that entire wealth they shared among themselves. Whatever was the available thing in the forest. Or in the areas wherever they stayed, whatever was available, they used to share it among everyone. Shared and used for themselves. There were no difference between rich as well as the poor. Both men and women both used to do the work. Now let us have a look at the Mehergar. Here the proper evidence of men and women learn to grow grains like barley, wheat. They also learn to rear sheep and goats. Evidence were found by the archaeologists. It was one of the places where the men and women learned to lead a settled life. Archaeologists could get all the evidence by digging, or they excavated the site, and evidence of different kinds of animals were found, vessels were found, bones were found. Cattle bones were the most common. That means there was animal which was very generally kept by the people. Mehergar there could also find special houses which were used for collecting the grains. Square or rectangular shape houses which were used for collecting the grains. There were also, like, they as a custom, when if anybody died, they used to bury the animal also. For example, when a man is buried, along with him one goat, they used to believe that that goat will be useful for him after death, or when he have a new life, it will be useful for him to have food. And many of the site or a burial from Mehergar, that from there only the evidence, from many of such evidences, that whenever a body is buried, along with that some animal also buried, because human body skeleton as well as animal skeleton both were found together. Another site from where we could get evidences, that is a Dawajali heading. This is a site which is near the Brahmaputra Valley. Which is very near to the routes leading to the China and Myanmar. Here the stone tools were found. Mortars and pestles. They grow grains, evidence of grains. They prepare food. There were evidence of a food cooked and eat. Such evidence were there. Tool of fossil wood and pottery, this all was found. There were also findings of stone which was brought from China. A stone known as a jadeite, which was brought from China. And also it was very common to find tools made of fossil wood or olden Indian wood that was hardened into stone. We could also get such findings from Neolithic sites. For example, in Turkey, one of the most famous Neolithic site, cattle was found in Turkey. Several things were brought from great distance, from Syria, cowries from Red Sea, shells from the Mediterranean Sea. These were used in the settlement. To have a settled life, they brought many things from different parts of the world. This is how, from gatherers, early man started to led a settled life. They started to grow things, they started to lead a settled life. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.